Yo, we have to talk about the NLCS Mets versus Dodgers. If you are new to the channel or my TikTok, hello, welcome. Make sure you smash the subscribe button and you can keep up with the sports judge. We got a Mets Dodgers NLCS. It's must-see TV for even the casual fans. Man, I have to be honest with you. I got a massive stomach ache watching them versus the Padres. It was necessarily because of one of the roller coasters I went on after San Diego hit 6 home runs and scored 10 runs in Game 2 of the NLCS versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. But now, after obviously winning that series for them to get to where they are right now, and after taking Game 1 against the Mets, I'm confident in what the Dodgers can do. I think those guys are ready to do something incredibly cool. Monday, they lost Game 2, and now the series heads to New York, where Citi Field will be electric. Last night was an encouraging win. Monday, though, was a disaster. It was everything you fear. They got their butts whooped in every possible way. The pitching was awful. The bullpen game was not working as well in Game 2 as it did in the prior series. Pitching for the Dodgers has been historically good, as we know. 33 consecutive scoreless playoff innings pitched is literally historic. Game 2, Dodgers throw a bullpen game. The second inning of that game changed everything. Big second inning, and not producing with runners in scoring position was the difference. It was never going to be easy. I knew this was going to happen. And certainly it happened where the Mets bats came alive and where the Dodgers bullpen game backfired terribly, and then Dave Roberts punting the game in the ninth that shut down basically any chance of a comeback. Defensively, our bullpen was, you guessed it, a disaster. I think the whole postseason for the Dodgers is different if the bullpen was as outstanding as it was in the prior series or during stretches of the regular season. Game 2 started with the pitching. It started with the decision that Dave Roberts made, and I actually trusted his decision to go with an opener, knowing the pitching situation. And what has been a blueprint for them, a recipe for success, unfortunately, this time, it just didn't work. And while it was cute against the Padres, it just didn't work out this time. And you knew it right away. Not even the third inning and the bullpen game was already in shambles. Look, it looks like, well, obviously now the bullpen game wasn't a good idea. Their relief pitchers was why they ended up getting past the Padres in the NLDS. And now what you have are a bunch of tired arms because you've emptied your bullpen. Their whole bullpen is gassed. It's not like these guys got a lot of rest, and within a couple of days, they have their best stuff going into the series. They had 2 days since their game-clinching series win over the Padres on Friday, and then turned around. Didn't have to travel, but had to be back at the ballpark to take on a very hot Mets team. That's tough. The thing that crossed my mind in this game particularly was pitcher's fatigue. I mean, we've seen Dave Roberts blow out his pitcher's arms before, and all the hope, all the expectations I have for the Dodgers this season just ripped from my stomach after watching that yesterday. It's one game, I understand. It's a long series, and I knew the Mets would respond back. Too good of a team not to. But yeah, the bullpen is a little tired, and the Dodgers just didn't have healthy alternatives to Knack going as long as possible. And that's the reason why Landon Knack, the rookie, was in a tough spot. What I don't understand is if Knack was truly gassed, as Dave Roberts pointed out, why the hell was the plan for him to follow an opener? You're asking for trouble, and certainly it was an absolute disaster. Dave kept him in the game to let him suffer like that in the most important game. I just can't get over the fact that the bottom of the Mets lineup was hitting off of him. It's so frustrating because this comes after game one the night before. Then you had a quick turnaround where you had a day game hours later. A game like yesterday made me want to stay off social media this morning, and obviously I couldn't, as always. There are going to be some games where our bullpen doesn't put up zeros. Baseball is bipolar. It's a weird sport. There are going to be nights where, like what we got in game one, where they set the tone early and jumped all over the Mets early to take control of the game. That wasn't the case in game two. But we know what the Dodgers lineup is capable of when they have guys seeing the ball well and swinging hot bats. Game one, in the high pressure postseason, with MVP chants ringing out, Shohei is always producing results with runners in scoring position. Their biggest offensive night of the postseason. 7 shutout innings from Jack Flaherty in game one. He showed up really big. The biggest question for the Dodgers going into the NLCS, just as it was coming into this postseason, was could their starters pitch well enough to provide length and give them a chance? Flaherty got the ball and not only set the tone, but he also turned in his best start of the season. It was by far his best stuff. This is the best he has pitched in the Dodgers uniform, by the way, and it was lovely. They desperately needed a game where Flaherty could go deep into the game to allow some key arms to get some rest in the bullpen. I didn't know what the Dodgers would get from him, mostly because Flaherty had some rough outings and is notoriously known for struggling in the first inning particularly. And to see the other night that he went 1, 2, and 3 was huge. Filthy work in the NLCS. What I think about Flaherty or what you think about him doesn't matter all that much if he can execute his pitches, attack the strike zone, and get the outs. And yet, no one really cares that he gave up the 4 runs against the Padres in game 2 of the NLDS. It's what he can do now and moving forward. Shohei Ohtani continued his brilliance with runners in scoring position, and obviously every time Ohtani comes up to bat, you're almost waiting for something to happen. Entering game 2, Ohtani was 16 for his last 19 with runners in scoring position. That dates back to the regular season. Ohtani smokes an RBI single past a diving Pete Alonso at first in the second inning of the game. The offense clicked in every way an offense should click. In the 4th inning, I believe it was the 4th inning. I think it was the 4th inning when Gavin Lux dropped down a sacrifice bunt after a Kike Hernandez hit a leadoff single. It was the first sacrifice bunt of Lux's career. Tommy Edman got a hit, Ohtani got a hit, and Freddie Freeman delivered a run scoring hit to extend the Dodgers lead to 6-0, through 4 innings. For once, I thought the offense looked more explosive than they were recently. You talk about the timely hits, huge RBI hits from Muncy, Shohei, and Mookie. Freddie, 2 for 3, a walk, a run scored, RBI on a bad ankle. The entire lineup exploded onto the scene, had gained momentum, which lasted them until the first batter of game 2. This time, it was the Mets' turn to completely unload on the Dodgers. And when I say unload, I mean unload. Right-hander Ryan Brazier, the opener for game 2, gives up a leadoff home run to Francisco Lindor, who you knew would eventually wake up. The real disaster unfolded in the second inning. 5 runs came across. Five runs. Nat comes on in the second inning, gives up a leadoff single and puts another runner on base with a walk. Knack never manages to stop the bleeding, and it turns into a complete nightmare where Tyrone Taylor, the California hometown kid, ripped an RBI double down the left field line for 1 run. Then you intentionally walk Lindor, which I completely get, but you load the bases, and Mark Ventos works a 9-pitch at bat. Knack offers him a 95-mile-per-hour fastball straight down the middle. He connects, grand slam, 5-0 Mets. Nothing exciting really happened in game 2. Nearly they pulled off a comeback, but when they had opportunities to get go-ahead runs, they swung and missed. Game 2 told a different story as the Mets set the tone early and never looked back. I was positive they could get back in the game and nearly made something happen, but they just came up short, put some positive energy out there to overtake the doom and gloom. That's how I was feeling about the game yesterday. And I just had this feeling that they could possibly pull off this comeback, but they didn't. But then I knew they would lose when they had the bases loaded twice in the 6th inning and only scored 2 runs. So many missed opportunities had me kicking myself. We've seen this before where the Dodgers have runners in scoring position, bases loaded, infield pop-ups, hit into a double play, swing and misses, all this other stuff, right? This is a feeling that's a little too familiar, right? Watching them come up with only a couple of runs and not really doing a lot of damage gave me flashbacks. So many discouraging moments when the Dodgers had runners on the bases, traffic on the bases, and no runs to show for it. It was after they got back in the ball game, making it 6-3, scoring a couple of runs in the 6th. After 2 mistakes from the Mets infield, Kike Hernandez twice came up empty while representing the tying or go-ahead run, rolling into a bases-loaded double play to end the 6th before flying out with 2 aboard to end the 8th. It was already exhausting at that point with all the runners they left on. Runners on base and no one brings them in. That's the easiest way to lose games, and even the series, if you go on long hitting droughts like the Dodgers usually do in the postseason. Hopefully in New York, the bats warm up again and they make this a series by taking a 2-1 lead in New York. I still love the fight in this team. Even when the offense went missing for much of the game, gotta love the energy they came with, all that heart and fight. Their energy was on fire. This is the Dodgers I could get used to. You punch, they can punch. They can punch back. And as they have all season, the Dodgers showed grit, incredible resilience while bouncing back from tough losses during the regular season. A positive takeaway, despite the loss, would be them getting back in the game, making it a game. The downside is all the momentum just died with the loss to the Mets in Game 2, 7-3 loss to the New York Mets in Game 2. Their record-tying 33-inning postseason scoreless streak ended quickly and in catastrophic fashion, and now the Dodgers have to win at least 2 in New York at Citi Field if they want to have a chance to win this series. They got to at least come away with 2 in New York. You can't win 1. You got to at least win 2. So hopefully they go to New York. Hopefully they take Game 3. That's the hope. You take Game 3, you will be right where you want to be. And you will have a chance to potentially win this series. It's not going to be easy. The Mets are going to keep clawing and scratching and biting back. They're going to do everything they want to do to try to win this series too, because they're here for a reason as well. And they are just as good as the Dodgers. And as you saw yesterday, they match up really well against the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are going to have to continue to put together some quality at-bats. They're going to have to get runners on base. And they're going to have to drive them in. And if they can do that, they'll be very successful. And they're going to have to rely on Walker Buehler's arm. I don't know how confident I am in him. You know, he's been unpredictable all year, and he's struggled for much of the season. So, I mean, I really don't know how I feel about Walker Buehler getting the ball, but, I mean, we really don't have another choice. You know, you have to go with him as your starter. You know, you just hope that he can, you know, give you some innings, hopefully, so you don't have to go to your bullpen early, because if you got to go to your bullpen early, then, you know, you're using your arms again out of the bullpen, and at some point that's taxing for your relievers, and I don't know where that would lead to if that continues. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. You know, New York's going to be fired up for sure, and hopefully the Dodgers go on the road and they take care of some business. We'll see what happens. But guys, thanks for watching. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you guys for checking out the content, as always. And don't forget, if you guys haven't already, do me a huge favor, hit the subscribe button. We'll talk soon. I'm getting out of here now.